We all have a story, and at times we feel we're walking it out alone. Let's pause and think. Join us for honest conversations about adoption and parenting as we lament, encourage, give hope, and explore our true identity and worth in Christ.
Hello from Guatemala City. We're here, Jackie Darby and Aisha De Lopez, to have honest conversations about adoption and family life and how beautiful and hard it is. And, we try to clarify each time we can that we're not professionals. I'm not a teacher, a psychologist, or anything sort of the specialist. We are a daughter and a mom. Of course, I'm a daughter too, but
you represent the moms,
I represent
I represent the kids,
moms, and she represents the kids. And so we have, tried to have conversations that involve both voices. And today we're gonna try to reassure you guys about how God uses simple rhythms to heal. And healing homes don't necessarily have two parents that are specialists and just know all the topics. It's super good. I'm involved in training, and I've received training myself. I love reading and learning about the brain and development and trauma and how it impacts and the resilience that we are built, that the Lord built into us. It's all fascinating and good, and we encourage you to seek resources, and this is why we're here. But we want to encourage you and tell you that healing homes require safe adults that are predictable and that are a source of stability.
Exactly.
So let's dig in.
Yeah. And when the Lord put it in your heart to adopt, you didn't have all the answers. You weren't an expert. And, parenting is hard. Parenting is just hard across the board. But as Christian parents who are seeking God and are wanting the best for our kids, we're including Him in the equation. And a lot of times, it's just the simple, stable things that matter the most. And like you said, we're not experts, but we're here just to encourage today. We're here to just reassure you just about the simple things in life. And stability is so important, just to have a stable home life, just routine things that include the child, that make them feel part of the family. And being part of the family isn't just, let's go out for ice cream and let's buy him a gift. It's about doing the daily chores. It's about doing life and things that the whole family is involved in. And sometimes that's not the exciting stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes them feel part of the family.
Yeah. And I am just continually just mesmerized by how the Lord is so faithful in using what He already built into daily life. And if you see how He does things in nature, and the Bible uses, agriculture all the time to teach about how the Lord does things. There's a rhythm. There's, different seasons in the year, and you can predict. And people, who farm know what to do in each season, because the Lord has afforded us a way to foresee what's coming. And so life will throw very wild stuff at us, definitely, because this is a broken world. But a healthy family will have somewhat of a repetitive pattern, not so much the clocks. We're not saying to be a clock Nazi. I'm not at all about that. But yes, to have a little ceremonies, and even if it's not planned, you have a little ceremony to get up. My mom used to come into my room, and she has a sing song in her voice. And I remember every morning of my childhood, she would come into the door and say, "Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you." That was every morning.
Wow.
Every morning. I know. And then I knew that that breakfast would be different than what I had yesterday because she planned it. It's like she loves food. And so she would love to plan meals, and she was a working mom, but she made sure that we had that. And I knew that we would never arrive late to school. That was predictable. That was
Wow.
soothing to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was going to arrive on time and my tummy would be filled and my lunchbox would be carrying good stuff as well. And that I would get home. And even if my mom wasn't there, the person that took care of us in the afternoons would have a meal for me.
So it was very predictable. It was
Very
very stable. It
predictable.
created a very
Yes.
stable home life.
And I'm not saying like it is super far from perfect. Like my parents, are, a number. I love them. They know I love them, and they got separated when I got married. The year I got married, so it wasn't. I wasn't in a very ideal home in many ways, but that predictability that my mom made sure we had, I'm sure was a very good, like, standing for me. It gave me a grounding. It gave me, a rhythm that I could flourish in. And I'm a creative person. I illustrated Whose Am I, our book. And I think that structure that she made possible at home made possible my creativity. I don't think that in a chaotic, how do you pronounce
Chaotic.
that? Yes.
Chaotic.
That. The English is my second language.
But you're doing great. You are great.
I don't think that if I had a crazy home, I would have had room to be creative, because a child that is raised in a chaotic. Environment is always worried. It on the contrary, because there's wingers and there's personalities and everything, and some people have a mentality that you need to leave the children to be children and be wild and free, and there's a space for that. But on the contrary, when a child doesn't feel looked after, doesn't feel safe, it cannot flourish.
That's a good point.
The brain is always on the lookout, especially for our children from hard places. We come from fear. And so it's a very primitive thing with the brain, and rhythm is soothing.
Yes, and that insecurity that chaos brings. What we're trying to say is that routine brings stability. And we understand, because life is a little crazy sometimes. So we understand not every day you're going to have, you're all going to be sitting around the table at dinner time. We understand that. We understand especially in the US, there's sports, there's so many school activities, there's things that are happening. But for the most part, we're encouraging routine stability and structure that brings security in the child's life, because sometimes as adopted kids, we have those insecurities, those hidden insecurities that sometimes we're not expressing or showing. It might be coming out in behavioral
most
issues.
Definitely.
But I think what we're saying is creating that stable, that routine environment in the home brings security and just reassurance to that child that you're part of our family. And the day-to-day things, and going back to what we started talking about, just the seasons and being farmers. I was raised on the farm. I was raised on a farm, and my parents totally included us in the family chores. And my dad had a chicken house.
Oh, fun.
I'm not sure I'd say fun.
This is a city girl speaking here.
But we had a chicken house with 10,000 10,000 chickens.
What?
10,000 chickens. So saying fun,
Wow.
when I was younger, I did not see it as fun.
Oh my goodness.
But every day, rain or shine, snowstorm or 90 degrees, my siblings and I, we had to gather eggs. We had to gather eggs. That was part of the family chores. And honestly, I'm not a big bird fan now. I've never been a big bird fan because I was fearful of those chickens, even though they're all caged. But we had to gather eggs, and that was a daily routine that was structured. I knew no matter where I was at 3:00 in the afternoon, I had to be home to gather eggs and to help. That was helping to put food on the table, because that was part of my parents' livelihood, the farm and what that farm generated. And those chickens generated food on the table for us to be able to eat. So it wasn't just about my dad going off to a job and providing every day. And I know there are some families that happens, and that's great, because that's how, God provides. But for us, for me growing up, we were part of that. And so it just brought a daily routine like we were talking about. And one thing my mom did at night, which I'm very grateful, and again, it was just a given. My mom always read to us at night.
Oh, I love that.
She read to us, whether they were Bible stories, those, they were blue Bible story books, or just regular stories, children's books. And so we really did look forward to that time at night, just that short little window where every night before my mom prayed with us and we went to sleep, she did take time to read with us. So just taking time for those simple things, that quality time. You're not having a hard conversation, you're reading a story. I think really creates a healthy atmosphere and security and stability.
Yes, definitely. And I'm thinking, about seasons, and it's really good and healthy and fun. Having fun is really important for bonding and for connection.
Exactly.
So structure is important. Having fun is as important. It's not extra, it's fundamental for a child's development. And I really encourage you to make up your own little traditions around holidays, around birthdays, because that is really what marks a life. And it doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate. It needs to be constant. So, for example, my kids are always, every Christmas, we put up the Christmas tree, and they know we're going to have peppermint canes for candy canes for the tree, and so they have to be there. And it's just a joy to it's just so little, and we put them on the tree, and then when kids come, they get to pick one from the tree, and they pick one from the tree every now and then, and it ends up being empty of candy canes. But it's just little traditions like that make life sweet, even in times of trial, because we've had 10 Christmases with our adopted daughters, and some of them have not been easy.
I'm sure.
But we've been constant in having those little moments in spite of it. Because what you communicate is your mind, your family, and this is going to happen whether we feel like it or not, because we're family. And this is what we do.
And it creates belonging. Even though it might have been a hard Christmas. When it's all said and done, when they're older, they're going to remember those candy canes, I can assure you. Because there's things I remember now.
Aww.
The hard times, yes, there was definitely hard times, storms that I walked through. But when I look back now on my childhood and the constant things that my parents did, just like you said, fun doesn't mean spending a lot of money. Like one thing I remember that my mom used to do is, for our birthdays, we never had elaborate birthday parties at all. But my mom always made a homemade cake.
Aww.
And depending upon what we wanted, what cake we wanted, we could tell her. I always liked a German chocolate cake. I don't know. I've never been a big, huge sweets fan, but on my birthday, I always liked the German chocolate cake because it had walnuts and coconut and stuff in it. So I remember she would always make me a German chocolate cake. And that was a big deal for my mom to make a cake, a homemade cake, instead of just going and buying one. But that's something that I always remember, that homemade cake. We didn't have decorations and all that, but our cake was decorated with little candles and stuff like that. So it was just a special memory that I have now, and it was consistent. It was a consistent memory. And like we said, it's not about spending a lot of money. But it's just about taking time, that quality time.
Yeah. And those little rituals like that happen every night are important. Have a safe way to wake up your child. Have a safe way to end the day in spite of everything. I can encourage you to have like a gratitude little ritual. For some years, I did a gratitude journal and had like prompts, like who was the best hugger today? Like, what's the best hug you got? What's the funniest thing you're thankful for? What just
ways to create conversation.
Yes. And it's scientifically proven that your brain settles when you end the day in gratitude. So encourage that ritual and end the day with thanking the Lord about everything, even the hard things. And may daily life for you be dependent on the Lord and keeping your eyes out for the goodness that's already there, because it is.
Yes. And I would just like to add that, those daily rituals, those daily routine things that we might not see as important, that just, again, reassures stability and ending the day on a positive note. My mom and dad, they weren't together in it always. Sometimes it was my dad, sometimes it was my mom. They would always pray with us before we went to sleep. We would thank the Lord for another day, just short and sweet, acknowledging God in our lives, acknowledging our Heavenly Father, and thanking Him and praying that we have a good night's rest, and just acknowledging that the Lord is with us. So just want to encourage you and just encourage you with our real conversations, our honest conversations, as simple as it might be. But we hope that it ministers to your heart.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Pause and Think. For more resources and information, go to whosami.org.